I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
Little cockroaches that they are. What's the matter with these kids? Stay away from my blonde hair and my legs. Of course, he didn't say that, did he? He welcomed it. He wanted more of it. He's been unwell for a long time. The Democrats are going to have to find some way to get rid of Joe Biden, and they're going to replace him, I think, with Gavin Newsom. He's not their guy. And they don't care about him. They only care about power, so I think his future is not so bright within the Democrat Party. Yesterday, he proved again and again. He told that story twice, right, Michael, about the cannibals eating his uncle? No one's ever heard this story before about his uncle in World War II. He made up, well, all the details. Turns out he did have an uncle, and his uncle was in World War II. He wasn't the pilot. It wasn't a single-engine aircraft. It wasn't over New Guinea. It wasn't shot down, and he was not eaten by cannibals. But other than that, every detail of the story that Joe Biden told yesterday was absolutely true. I will share that with you because that is just berserk. Lots of cannibals. Joe Biden says hero uncle's plane was shot down in area with lots of cannibals in Papua New Guinea in World War II, and his body was never found. Turns out he is his uncle. It's kind of like a weekend at Biden's sort of place. We got that. Cannibals ate my uncle is another headline. That's out of the United Kingdom. That's another country altogether, and they're mocking him too. Biden tells bizarre story about cannibals eating his grandfather in Pittsburgh. Was it his grandfather or was it his uncle? There's some confusion about that too. This is a great moment in Joe Biden presidential history. Also, Joe Biden yesterday bragged that he told Israel, what is he says, but he mangles that too. He said, like the Israels. He says something like that. He said he told the Israel to not attack Haifa, which is a city in Israel populated by Israelis who are Jewish. And why they would attack their own city, nobody knows. But our expert in foreign policy, Joe Biden, remember we were told he was going to reestablish our standing in the world because he's a foreign policy expert. And Robert Gates warned us that he's been wrong about every foreign policy decision for 40 years. Turns out Robert Gates was telling the truth. The New York Times and CNN and the Washington Post and ABC, not so much. And NPR, I don't want to leave out NPR in this because they also lie about everything. And they have this crazy woman as a CEO. It's about time. We have one Republican senator thus far calling for NPR to be defunded, and that's long overdue. Of course, as you all know, I've been talking about defunding NPR and PBS. You know, kill Big Bird, bring Big Bird in and just club Big Bird to the spray Big Bird down with fire hoses and push Big Bird off the stage. You know, I had enough about that. You know, they're more successful than just about any product or brand in the history of products and brands. And still, we taxpayers are subsidizing them. Why? Well, it's because the Democrat Party appreciates the propaganda network that has been stood up. And they even propagandize the children. It's not just NPR. It's also the rest of them. Know what I'm talking about there? Yes, sir. Also, you know, the Columbia University, it's a college of some repute. I believe that Barack Obama went there, didn't he? Barack Hussein Obama. And it is a hotbed of anti-Jewish everything. And last night on the campus of Columbia University in New York, it was, they had flares, but it looked like the place was up in flames. It really did. It looked like they were rioting and burning and looting and things. And they were chanting. They had some pretty crazy chants yesterday, didn't they? Some of them were, let's see, what's the intifada? There is only one solution, intifada revolution. So they're calling for a radical Islamic jihad revolution on the left-wing liberal, making quotation marks with my fingers, campus, Columbia University. Quite amazing. It certainly is. And there is only one solution, intifada revolution.
There is only
That's the Democrat Party today. They've joined the jihad. There have been many Democrat Party suicide attacks at the Israeli embassy, at the Supreme Court, and U.S. Capitol murdering a police officer, Billy Evans. New York City murdering 2 police officers. Dallas, police officers. Baton Rouge, and police officers. Baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia, shooting Congressman Steve Scalise. All suicide attacks, all Democrat Party suicide attacks. Honestly, how many is that? They're not all self-immolations. There are only 2 self-immolations. But then we had some left-wing Muslim women at UCLA last week, right, that were advocating for more self-immolation as a form of political protest because the Democrat Party has gotten in bed with radical Islam. They're unwell, very, very unwell. But that's not all that's going on. There's a lot of that going on, however. And at the United Nations, which is, should be turned into condominiums. At the United Nations today in New York City, it should really be in Burundi or someplace more appropriately. Should kick them out of there and take that real estate back. The United Nations is planning on voting today to make Palestine, which is not a country, a member of the United Nations, a full member of the United Nations. They say Palestine will become a full member of the United Nations. And I got articles like the Palestine Chronicle has a story on that today. And in the masthead of the Palestine Chronicle, the I in the word Palestine is a cutout of Israel. And that's their 2-state solution. Is they wipe Israel off the map. And the Democrat Party is right there with them. Even Jewish Democrats are like, yeah, let's wipe out Israel and kill the Jews. And it's like this way to your boxcar, right over here. Crazy, crazy people you are. And then at Loyola University, law school of all places, they've got their, what is she, their DEI chief. She's their diversity chief. She's the anti-racism chief, and her name is Grace Obi-Azuki, and she's not from Indiana. And get the beep out of here, you ugly-ass little Jewish people in this. She's the head of, because liberals hire people like this. They think they're open-minded, when in reality they're severely brain damaged. But I've got that for you. Loyola Law School hires a racist to be the head of anti-racism because the left is in charge, and they're either that dumb or they're that corrupt. Those are the only 2 possibilities. Honestly. We are, of course, at 888-630-9625. Also chanting at Columbia University, we are all Hamas. We are all Hamas. There is only, and these are white people that call themselves liberals that go to an Ivy League institution, which is where you find these people. And the president of Columbia University was on Capitol Hill yesterday. She is an Egyptian woman. And she was asked, hey, what about all this hating the Jew stuff on campus? And she's like, what? What are you talking about? I know nothing about that. And then some specifics were cited. And she's like, oh, that. Oh, yeah, okay, that. Yeah. Should that be frowned upon? Yes. I think the answer is yes, because I'm on television and I saw what happened to the president of Harvard and all that stuff, so we got that. And the number of anti-Semitic attacks in New York at record highs. And it's all Democrats, the Democrat Party. Amazing. So also NPR editor Yuri Berliner, we shared with you yesterday while we were on the air. He resigned from National Panhandler Radio. And the CEO, Catherine Marr of NPR, she is a huge leftist, a giant leftist, hired for all the wrong reasons, or as Democrats say, all the right reasons. And we've got that, just amazing stuff. But boy, we've got a lot of stuff for you today because you know how they are. Also, the Alejandro Mayorkas impeachment was shot down by the Lizard King in the Senate. That's Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is the king of the lizards. He's the Lizard King. Amazing stuff. But the Democrats shot it down because they don't want a trial. They don't want to talk about what the Democrats are doing to the country with their open border policies and so on. So, man. So we got that. And in Chicago, hey, we need another $70 million for the illegal aliens And forget about all the people that live here. They can just go shoot each other because, we've got illegal aliens to pay for. And we've got that going for us. That's remarkable stuff in Chicago, and a lot of people in Chicago don't like it. They've already spent $150 million on illegal aliens. Now, just a couple of days ago, they approved another $70 million for illegal aliens because they like the abuse. Also, I love this story. The State Department briefing yesterday, I believe the reporter was Matt Lee. Matt Lee is an actual news reporter who asks actual news reporter questions, which is unfortunately very unusual these days. But he asked a question of this person who is, I guess, the deputy press something or other and it's horrible, it's terrible, and asked, hey, you guys lifted all the sanctions on Iran while nobody was looking. And wait till you hear the lie that the spokesman told. Turns out they did lift all the sanctions on Iran, the United Nations sanctions. The United Nations is virulently anti-Semitic, which is why the Democrat Party likes them, I think. Another reason to like the UN for Democrats. But this is an amazing little exchange I was watching yesterday. I was watching the State Department briefing. That's how exciting I am. But the question and the answer were quite remarkable. I immediately grabbed it and started sharing it with people because I was guffawing. You know how to guffaw? I was guffawing about the question and in particular the answer at just amazing at the State Department. Lifting sanctions on Iran right now, days after they attacked Israel with hundreds of, 60 tons of munitions or just crazy. And what does the Biden White House do? Say, gosh, you know what? Iran needs more money to kill the Jews and advance their ballistic missile program and advance their nuclear weapons program, spinning centrifuges, enriching uranium, all that good stuff. Remarkable stuff, just remarkable. So that's some of the things we have for you today. And I want to get to as many of those great stories as possible. And of course, during the course of 3 hours, lots of news will break while we're on the air. That's part of the fun. Also, O.J. Simpson. You remember the story? O.J. Simpson died surrounded by loved ones. Surrounded by loved ones. The ones that could make it, the ones that he didn't murder. Turns out even that's a lie. Did NPR tell us that? Because that sounds like it might be an NPR story. It's not that all false stories are NPR stories, but it's possible that all NPR stories are false stories. See the important difference there? We are at 888-630-9625. You don't want to go anywhere for the next 3 hours. Too much crazy going on. And, I can translate it for you. All right, let's take a phone call before getting to Joe Biden's follies from yesterday. They were pretty good ones, too, I've got to say. The Democrat Party must be looking at him and saying, he's got to go. We can't keep him. He's not our candidate. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Hack, calling from Bethesda, Maryland.
I can't punch it up.
Oh, it won't punch up? We're having a technical meltdown here at the radio station. We don't have any internet connectivity. The computers aren't working. And now discovering that the phones aren't working either. Our call screening program down. And that's okay. That happens from time to time. It's not helpful. But now the phones aren't working either, so we can't pull anybody up. But that's okay. We don't really need all that stuff, do we? Nah. Come on. Too convenient. But we've got lots of news to get to, and that's just fine. The Democrat Party has lost its ever-loving mind. And when they're chanting pro-Hamas, pro-jihad, pro-genocide, and this is what it is when you're chanting from the river to the sea, and we're all Hamas now. Hamas is a genocidal, radical Islamic death cult, of course, as any school child can tell you. And the Democrat Party has has jumped into bed with them. That's where they are. And in case there's any question about that, just listen to the chants and listen to the riots. And on Columbia University campus, where, again, their president was on Capitol Hill yesterday, the president of, who's an Egyptian woman. And she's like, anti-Semitism, was that going to be a problem? Why would that be an issue? I don't understand. Remarkable. And we have President Trump back in court today in New York City, where the Democrat lynch mob is being assembled because they want to keep the old traditions alive. They're not really very traditional people, the Democrats, the left. They're not traditionalists, except when it comes to keeping the Bolshevik Revolution alive and lynching, because that's one of their old things too. One of their old habits. Remarkable stuff. And the Washington Post today has a front page story: a deadly evacuation attempt in Gaza, and the stories in the Washington Post are always anti-Israel. This is quite a peculiar thing. We were talking about this in the meeting before the big radio broadcast began this morning. But the Washington Post, which is a front group for the Democrat Party and a fake newspaper, not a legitimate newspaper at all, they are where the party is, the Democrat Party is, and that is they are anti-Israel and pro-Hamas. They are anti-Israel and pro-Iran. Iran attacks Israel. They're cheering Iran on. Isn't that a remarkable thing? Just not what we expected. We didn't see this coming, I've got to say. The Democrat Party. And it all goes to critical race theory, doesn't it? That's, the root of all of this evil is the left-wing thing for critical theory and then critical race theory, which they have inflicted upon themselves and the youth of America on college campuses, and it would seem Ivy League institutions in particular. If you own a business, whatever you do, don't hire anyone from the Ivy League. They're a fifth column living among us. Like underground Nazis during World War II. And honestly, you know how they love to call everybody Nazis? That's like the Victoria Nuland Russian playbook animated once again. They're so close to being goose-stepping, armband-wearing mobs, it may only be a matter of hours. And another Democrat story on the front page of the Washington Times today. Your newspaper of record in Washington, D.C., not the Washington Post. Haktui! Here's the front page story under higher education. Does that mean doing a lot of drugs at school? Higher education colleges plan even more segregated graduations. I'm beginning to think that the party of the Confederate States of America might be a racist political party. When did that happen? Well, I guess in at least 1861, right? Never mind that, though. I believe that we are operational again. Are we operational again, Michael? We're trying to breathe life back into our technology, and it may have our engineering staff. It's not just one man, really. That's the thing. Larry, and it looks like things are back up and running. So let's see what we can do. We remain at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Hack, calling from Bethesda, Maryland. Hack, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Hack. Uh-oh. Maybe I spoke too soon. It's possible I spoke too soon. All right, I know. Heck, on the big screen, it appears that we're still not operational, but we're working on it. We'll massage it. We'll see what we can do. And in the meantime, let's go to Joe Biden because we have lots to share. In addition to everything crazy they're doing, Joe Biden in Pennsylvania, where he again a headline in the Washington Times front page. In Pennsylvania, Biden deflects culpability for high inflation. Pitches to working class in crucial battleground. Battleground state of Pennsylvania. Remember, that's where the Democrats changed all the election laws on a county level, circumventing the state constitution and the state assembly because they don't believe in the rule of law. They believe in the rule of the mob. When it comes to Donald Trump and our Jewish brethren, as in on the campus of Columbia University, where the mobs yesterday were burning. And were they burning flags? I didn't see them burning American flags. The day before yesterday, they were burning American flags. The Democrats love burning the American flag, not flying the American flag. But let's go to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden yesterday was on the campaign trail, and he was in Pennsylvania, and he decided to tell a story or two. And you know how he is when he tells stories. How is he when he tells stories, Michael? Oh, yeah, mentally ill. That's how he is. And does he make a lot of stuff up? Yes, he does. He certainly does make a lot of stuff up. And there is a, kind of a funny, again, they make the most ridiculous things funny. But he says that he had an uncle who was eaten by cannibals in New Guinea in World War II, and that his uncle was on a single-engine airplane, made it sound like he was a reconnaissance pilot in a reconnaissance aircraft. That's not true. Said it was a single-engine aircraft. That's not true. Said he was shot down. That's not true. Said he was eaten by cannibals. That's not true. Other than that, the story is a pretty good story, though. It's making news all over the world. The Daily Mail in the United Kingdom with the headline, Joe Biden suggests his uncle was eaten by cannibals after his plane was shot down over Papua New Guinea during World War II. And he talks about his war hero uncle and, may have met a grisly end among flesh-eating savages in New Guinea. This is his foreign policy prowess. Again, he's shoring up relations with New Guinea now. And he says that his uncle, Ambrose J. Finnegan, his great-grandfather that came from Ireland, and what was his name? Blewett. His name was Blewett. Blewittt. So he really should be Joe Blewett, which would make it hard to become president of the United States, I think, but it would explain his presidency. The Blewett family, don't choose them to lead your country. Can only lead to bad things. So the president says his uncle Ambrose J. Finnegan was shot down by enemy, but the Pentagon says his plane actually suffered engine failure. It was really just engine failure, so it wasn't shot down. And there were, for real, cannibals where the plane went down, Biden says. Now, I want to share this story with you, and what he said about it. But the news media is reporting all over the world that once again his brain, she's a broke. She's a no good, that brain of his. Joe Biden suggested his war hero uncle may have met a grisly end among flesh-eating savages after his plane went down over Papua New Guinea in World War II. It's a pretty good story, I've got to say. The president said there were a lot of cannibals at the time in the area when his uncle Ambrose J. Finnegan's plane crashed. He actually said shot down in the 1940s, and his remains were never recovered. World War II, I believe the United States of America has 78,000 MIAs. That's something to chew on. Mostly lost at sea, ships fighting the Japanese, the Germans, but a lot in the Pacific. 78,000 Americans listed as missing in action from World War II. That's a rather huge number. According to his own Defense Department, his uncle was actually a courier who boarded this flight and not a pilot at all. And then the flight suffered engine failure, and the plane was ditched into the ocean off the coast of Papua New Guinea, May 14th, 1944. His uncle was actually a passenger on the airplane as a courier and not the pilot of the airplane. Biden made the cannibal comment. He was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where he visited a war memorial bearing the name of his relative, who was known to the family as Uncle Bosie. The president said, well, let's play what Joe Biden said yesterday in Scranton, because this is one for the books. Joe Biden is a famous plagiarist from Neil Kinnock when he was forced to drop out of his first presidential campaign in 1868. It was very sad. And here's Joe Biden yesterday in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
They called him Uncle Bozy. He was shot down. He was an Army Air Corps before there was an Air Force. He flew single-engine planes, reconnaissance flights over New Guinea. He had volunteered because someone couldn't make it. He got shot down in an area where there were a lot of cannibals in New Guinea at the time. They never recovered his body, but the government went back when I went down there and they checked and found some parts of the plane and the like.
Virtually none of that is true, including "and the." He was in the Army Air Corps before there was an Air Force. It's true, the U.S. Army Air Corps, the Air Force was not a standalone service until the National Security Act of 1947. So it was the Army Air Corps or the Air Corps. And it's true, but he was not a pilot. He was a passenger. He was playing the role of courier. That's great. I mean, it's not to disparage that. He's in the middle of World War II. He's in the Pacific and all that. He volunteered because someone couldn't make it. That's not true. He was shot down. That's not true. Area with lots of cannibals. Going like this with my hand. You know, there might have been some cannibals there, but that story is enormously false. It's an incredibly fake story, and the Pentagon was put in the uncomfortable position yesterday of having to correct the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces on a number of important elements of that story. Shot down in an area where there are a lot of cannibals. Shot down over the ocean, and there were not a lot of cannibals in the ocean unless they're like aqua cannibals. They could be swimming cannibals with fins and hard to say. But none of that is true. And Joe Biden is an embarrassment to the United States of America. He's an embarrassment to world leaders everywhere. And he's certainly an embarrassment to the Democrat Party. He went on to tell how Uncle Bozy was a hell of a guy and, a heck of an athlete and all that. Ended up in a jungle populated by cannibalistic tribes. And then he said when D-Day occurred, D-Day, that'd be, the 6th of June, 1944. When D-Day occurred the next day, all 4 of my mother's brothers volunteered to join the Army. Now, we're about 4 years into the war then, a 5-year war, and we're about four years in. That's kind of interesting that you go join after D-Day. You might already be in there, but that's the Biden family for you. Amazing. Also, the plane went down May 14th of 1944. May 14th of 1944. May 14th of 1944 was actually before June 6th of 1944. So he got that wrong, too. His uncle and his mother's 4 brothers didn't actually join after D-Day, but Joe Biden, he can't remember much. His brain is no good. His memory is no good. He's not a good thinker. But May 14th, I'm just doing my gazintas here like a good Jethro Bodine. But let's see, March, April, May, June. See, and he was already in the Pacific. So he probably didn't join after D-Day since he went down in the Pacific almost a month before D-Day started. So never mind that part of the story either. Guy's pretty amazing. When D-Day occurred the next day, four of my mother's brothers volunteered to join the Army. 3 of them made it. One of them couldn't go. He couldn't go. Too dumb? Maybe they failed the IQ test. Ambrose Finnegan. We called him Uncle Bozy. And we just heard that. Now, he told the story, and I got to tell you, Joe Biden, he told it twice, 2 different locations yesterday.
And my uncle, they called him Ambrose Bozy, they called him Bozy. My Uncle Bozy was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came
He became an Army Air Corps.
Single-engine planes as reconnaissance over
twin-engine plane.
War zones. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body.
Lost engine power.
There were a lot of cannibals, for real.
Not shot down.
New Guinea. And then my son volunteered to go to Iraq for a year, and he came back with stage 4 glioblastoma.
What? And in unrelated news, and he didn't come back with it. He's still trying to blame his son Beau's tragic death by brain cancer on his 1 year as a lawyer in Iraq because there were burn pits there. No evidence that he was anywhere near any of these burn pits. Also, no evidence that the burn pits cause brain cancer. And Joe Biden makes up pretty much everything. And he's to say he's obsessed with that would be. But there you go. So there's Joe Biden. He just makes stuff up all over the place. And I don't know how they join the Army after D-Day and get shut down or not, just have engine failure before D-Day. But when you're Joe Biden, that's how your brain is going. And then back to his son, Beau, who tragically died too early. But all of this is just fiction. And the Pentagon was forced to release documents showing that none of this was true. The Daily Mail published the actual documents from the Pentagon showing that none of this could be true. Isn't that remarkable? Now, you may be aware of the fact that Israel is at war, and the Democrats are on the side of, well, they can't decide whose side they're on. They can't figure it out. One day they're like, oh, we've got, what was the word that he used with Israel, so supportive of Israel there? We've got their backs, and he said, oh, yeah, we're their backbone, whatever it is. And then the next minute, the Congress is getting ready to send billions of dollars to Hamas because that's a good idea. And the Democrats are demanding that we send billions of dollars to Hamas because they're on the side of the terrorists and stuff. But Joe Biden, he's got their back until he doesn't. And yesterday he was talking again and missing again. Now, Haifa is a city in Israel, which is populated by Israelis and Jewish people and not by a radical Islamic terrorist jihadi army like the Gaza. Hamas doesn't own it. But Joe Biden suggested yesterday that he was and he couldn't say who. Was it Netanyahu? Who was it? He just told, the Israel or somebody there not to attack Haifa. And Netanyahu told Biden not to attack Indianapolis. What do you tell? But here's Joe Biden yesterday saying that he told Israel not to attack themselves.
I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, anyway, I just...
What?
Look what we did
What?
recently.
What?
When Israel was attacked.
What? Don't move on Haifa. Haifa is a city living in relative peace inside of Israel. A lovely city. But Joe Biden told Israelis to not move. Don't move on Haifa. And it's not entirely clear what he's talking about. Rafah? What's he talking about? Israel is not thinking about attacking themselves in Haifa, but Joe Biden, our foreign policy expert, he's very concerned about that. You know why, don't you? Because his brain, she's a broke. His brain, that brain of his, she's a no good. And it's become abundantly clear that Joe Biden must go. He is not up to the task. The Democrats know it. They're just working on massaging their way through it. Remember when Joe Biden said that the day may come when he's got to fake an illness and step aside? That day may be approaching. We're at 888-630-9625. Lunch Bucket Joe, what a guy. He is truly something. We're going to try the telephones again. We're working on getting everything fixed here. And I think that Hack has been patiently hanging on the line from Bethesda, Maryland. So let's try to go to Hack. Hack, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. I think NPR is hacking into your phone lines here.
That could be it. It's NPR or the Biden NSA.
Or something like that. You left out the rest of his speech here, as usual, taking things out of context. Joe Biden said he was raised by the cannibal community. Okay, no joke. And he also said, if you're having trouble figuring out which guy to eat, you ain't a cannibal.
That is Hack. That is pretty good stuff. Yeah, because he said he's been raised by the Puerto Rican community, the Jewish community,
everything.
He's everything. Depending on who he's talking to, he in his chameleon-like way becomes one of them. So you're right. He might as well claim
chameleons. I think he has too.
Yeah, he might live on. He is. It's pretty amazing stuff. Wouldn't want to take that mantle away from Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, but honestly, that's quite a story he told, isn't it? Heck, it's too bad that really none of it is true.
When I heard, Vince talking, the teasers, I can't wait for tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow, and here we are.
And here we are.
That he gets reelected, or you're going to have zero material.
I'm never concerned about that. There's always so much material that if Joe Biden.
I just want to give you an update before you cut to commercial. You're always talking about watching Hazel on Antenna TV.
Yeah.
See, his whole morning is blocked out. Well, until recently, they had Bachelor Father at 8:00, and then they had Father Knows Best, followed by Dennis the Menace, then Hazel. So him and Hunter would spend some quality time together. I mean, that's a block. Father Knows Best, Bachelor Father, Hazel.
Hunter's got to come into. Hunter's got to show him how to use the DVR. The digital video recorder is a little complicated for Joe. He's got the nuclear codes within arm's reach, but the DVR, the remote control for the TV is little much for him. He's got to go. Are the Democrats going to get rid of him, heck?
I don't know. Things have never been better. Border secure, economy's thriving.
That's a good point.
It's never been better.
You're absolutely right. I had lost sight of that for just a moment. I thank you for reminding me. It's like living in the Soviet Union, living in the United States now. No, comrade workers, economy is strong, like Joseph Biden's back. Very strong like bull. Vote for him.